Yeah, likewise. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. We are live. Now I'm just going to check that we're actually live on my Facebook page.
Awesome.
We are. Oh, there we go. Thank you for joining me, Alan.
Thank you.
We're going to jump on as we start to talk, but I really just want to take a moment to really acknowledge you now, because I'll do it at the end as well. But if you don't know this guy's extraordinary, and I follow him on Facebook, and we have a lot in common in that we both mentor men, both coach men, and we're all about expression, both of us. So this live is going to be epic. Now, I just want to do a quick introduction to the Core of What Matters. Core of What Matters show is a show that mostly just streams live on. We've just changed the name. It's Human Business Collective. It used to be Channel Raw, Real and Amplified, as you can probably see with the branding. That's going to be updated. But anyway, the Core of What Matters is a show that I created because I really want to get to what drives extraordinary human beings that are up to awesome things in life. What actually drives them? What's behind them? And I like to get to the core of the humanity of that person. So what that really looks like for me is like, what is your expression? Who are you? Where did you come from? What happened? Why are you? All of those juicy questions. So that's really the core of what matters. I'm Emily Kate. I have been a coach for 8 to 10 years. Recently have just started exclusively coaching men. I have a couple of female clients for business, but I coach and mentor men to really live life expressed and with purpose. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's all about being able to impact mental health and suicide prevention. So that's what I'm up to in life. I would love for you to introduce yourself to everyone, and if anyone's watching, please say hello.
Yes, so Alan Christian. Christian's my middle name, by the way. So my last name. So I just feel like Alan Christian has more of a ring to it. So
Emily Kate's my middle name. Kate's my middle name too.
Yeah, so there's no conspiracy behind it. It's just like, it just has a better ring to it, And for me, I'm 29 and I also coach men. I have coached females as well, and they're still open to that possibility of coaching females. However, for me personally, I feel like there's such a deeper level of connection with males in relation to my own story and how that can sometimes relate to what they're going through in relation to confidence and expression and everything in between. So I feel like this is going to be quite a juicy conversation, and that's what I'm all about. And as yourself as well,
Good.
And yeah, so I've been coaching for nearly, if I include while I was a personal trainer, I would say it would be 4.5 years, 5 years. Without PT, more so looking like a 2.8, 3 sort of year mark. So in saying that though, like in relation to the coaching, it's been a life experience for me. Like the moment that I became aware was when I was 8 years old, and like that's a pretty heavy, like not heavy, like it's a pretty big topic in and of itself. Like to become aware, like what does that even mean to become aware? I remember the moment where like I was just thinking my thoughts and really questioning like why I was thinking in a certain way. And I was like, oh, I'm 8 years old, and I was kind of like visioning my future and things of that nature. But at the same time, had a lot of roadblocks, mentally along the way. But
being 8, I'm sure.
Hey,
being 8 years old, I'm sure you had a lot of roadblocks.
Yeah, lots. So yeah, that's a brief intro to, I guess, myself, and I'm happy to be here. Like I'm happy to answer and provide as much value or information or life experience as I can, if it helps somebody else with a high quality life. So
absolutely. So this is great because I can relate to this so much. I don't feel like I did have a couple of really pivotal moments that were like, oh wow, this is awareness, or I can't go back from here. It's like this new understanding of my thoughts, my experiences, my feelings, my emotions, and And I was like, I can't go back now once I know this information. And the more that I knew, the more I wanted to give away, which is what I imagine is probably the space you're in. I want to know, though, what was the moment for you? Actually, before we go there, that's going really deep. Let's go. Let's talk firstly. You know, what is it about coaching men, or what specifically is like the thing that you want to impact?
That last bit just cut out. Sorry. What was that last bit?
You're right. So what specifically do you really do want to impact with men in the world?
So purely to like know that they can be in themselves, in their purest form, expressing a level of confidence that has them leading by example in an authentic way for their offspring, for their offspring's offspring, for like how they show up at work in their professional life, how they show up in their personal life, from a place of heart though. Like, you know, I feel like for me, just to tap on that, like I wore so many masks like throughout my teenage years and my early 20s, like, and the thing is, it's actually okay because it was a protection mechanism. I was protecting myself of getting hurt. And you know, if we're going to dive into that, it's like, well, that idea in my head, or that story in my head, that like, okay, if I truly express myself, if I truly speak from my heart, or speak my truth, I'm going to get hurt. It's just a perception, and it's an illusion. And you know, it's when we're able to like unwind the story and just rattle the cage a little bit to ask ourselves like, why am I acting this way, or why am I holding this story against myself? So yeah, in a nutshell, it's really to allow men to tap into such a deep version of themselves, so that they can express, they can communicate, they can take the actions, identify the behaviors that may not be serving them, so they can bring into their life more of what does serve them and what brings them joy, brings them satisfaction, what brings them happiness and overall contentment in life, as well as still do the other stuff.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
So important. I just want to say hi, Chanel. Who else we got? Sonia and Sky says there's a gnarly repetitive auto tick. Yeah, I think, look, Alan's internet, I don't know what's happening with your internet over there, but every now and then there's like this weird like underwater noise.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a tick. Sorry, Sky. We're just gonna have to deal with that today. You know, I get that can really put people off when they come onto a live. So it's good that someone, you know, we just acknowledge that, get it out of the way. It's actually okay right now. So maybe
I'm right next to the beach, and I'm right next to the modem, so I'm doing my best.
Great. Okay, cool. Well, I just want to touch back. So this is getting to the core of what matters, right? And I want to look at those masks that you talked about. I want to look at what that actually looks like in reality, because we all say that, you know, we all are aware ultimately as we get older that we've been putting on masks. You know, we had a mask for this, we had a mask for that. We would change our personalities for this. But for you, what does that look like? Were you the cool guy? Were you the nerd? You know, like what kind of mask were you wearing?
For me, I was the shy guy. Like I was the guy that had no friends. You know, like that sort of ties into another part of my journey around like being bullied and being the bully and also being bullied. So I copped both ends of the stick there. So there was a lot of learnings for me in that. But being extremely self-conscious about myself, and I guess the mask that I would wear is like pretending to be somebody that I'm not. And that showed up like with the type of car that I drove, you know, telling stories about like how successful I was when I really wasn't, you know, just kind of like fabricating my life and creating a fictional version of my life, when deep down that I knew that like that's not true, man. Like but it's just amazing how like I was trying to create this perception in others, which was so far away from authenticity and so far away from truth and just like actually being okay with myself. And you know, I can't be the only person that's been through that, and that's another reason as to why I specifically coach males in that sense, because if I've been through it and there's other males that have been through that self-consciousness phase where they're extremely shy and they want to be confident, they might, see that version of themselves that is confident and charismatic and certain and driven and assertive. But deep down, what their language and their linguistics is suggesting to the people in their world isn't matching with what they feel on the inside, and that's where the misalignment is, because like it's giving off mixed signals. And when we're talking about the core of what matters, that's exactly what matters, is like coming from a place of alignment from what's deep inside. So
being authentic to yourself first and foremost. And like looking at that too, the couple of years, you said this is like life experience, I coach from life experience, and that tick is back. I'm like, what is that? I get distracted now and I noticed it after Sky pointed out. But I was going to say, so there was something really like present for me when you were sharing about, that you had to be pretend to be someone else, that you were this, shy guy, and you were lying about, the kind of car or the kind of money that you had. What was the fear there? What were you actually hiding that you didn't want people to know?
The fear, nothing really comes to mind when you say fear, but it was more so like I was craving connection so much with other people that I would do whatever I needed to do or say whatever I needed to say in order to make that happen. Unknowingly, like the more that I did that, the more I felt like I was pushing people away, and it was like this constant like carrot and stick. I was like, I need to like keep expressing myself in this way, because like the connection's kind of there, like they're kind of buying into it, but I feel like I need to keep topping this up, because it just feels like I'm always at arm's length and I could never work it out.
Absolutely. I can kind of relate to that. As a younger adult, when I was like in my I'm 27 now, so when I was about 20, 21, I was a huge party chick. Probably actually earlier than that, 17 through about 22, I just partied a lot. And my mask was the cool girl mask. I wanted to be cool. I wanted everyone to like me, and they did most of the time, And I would go out of my way for people to make sure that they knew that I was likable and that I was someone that they could come to about anything, and that I would mold myself to whoever needed, whoever I was in front of. And so I was constantly to be cool. And what was really covering up was I was deadly afraid that people would think that I was a weirdo or that I, and then that disconnect, that fear of like not being able to really connect with people. Also, though, knowing that I wasn't connecting because of that. So it's all this like vicious cycle.
Yeah. And that kind of just helped me remember why that mask was present for me. So I was craving connection. So I'd say whatever I had to say in order to like have people like me, in a similar sense. And for me, it was afraid of what people think of me. So that was more so the thoughts and the judgments that someone may have towards me if for some reason I express as truthfully, if that makes sense. So very powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is. And like that's the authenticity piece. We're gonna pivot a little, because I really want this conversation to be hugely about expression, because that's both of our geniuses, And so I just want to know, what is expression to you? What does that mean? What does it mean for you to be able to fully express yourself authentically?
Yeah, like that expression is everything. The clothes that you wear, the clothes that make you feel good. Like the actions that you take that are in alignment with your thoughts. Being able to achieve goals in a way that's like expressing you, the character of you. To be able to have a conversation with someone down at the cafe with zero limitation of like this person's thinking this or they're going to think this way about me. Coming from a deep truth that allows you to get exactly what you want out of your heart and across the table, without any fear of judgment or any fear of rejection or any mental limitation that causes a perception of limitation or havoc in the experience. So the energy that one gives off based off of like how they feel ultimately about themselves. So like it ties in so heavily with like awareness, belief, trust, self-worth, self-esteem, and confidence. And ultimately like how much we're willing to look into self-love, which will therefore help us attract in the people that are resonating on a similar vibration, or understand us in the way that's like coming across as alignment. So in a nutshell, all of that intertwined with just being in alignment in any present moment of time. So
yeah, so an alignment is really what I'm hearing. Yeah, so everything you say, everything you think, there's some things that you just automated, but really like, having your life be about the alignment of self, which I keep coming back to, that is really inside of what matters to you and your purpose. So it's like, how do you express authentically if you don't know what your values are? What are your pillars? What actually makes you uniquely you? Because we leave these bodies eventually. They're not really us, but our soul has chosen them for this mission or whatever we're on. At least that's my beliefs and my values. That there is self, and then there is like physical being. So I always look at, what is this person's values? Where are they coming from? I can definitely hear that one of yours is really just being able to show up fully as a man that says what he wants, doesn't hold back, and has integrity and is completely in alignment with who he is in the world and what he's about to impact before he dies. So, I can hear that that's value to it. It's not for everybody, by the way. It might sound like, isn't that, isn't that obvious, But it's not for everybody. So, I think that's really important to really know what your values are. So, I think you're on point, Alan, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. One of my values on top of expression is being able to, I notice as a society, I'm just going to try something. I don't mean to be rude. I'm just going to, okay, that works. I just popped you on mute just while I'm sharing. It got rid of the tick completely. So the moment that you share, I'm going to take you off mute. I just have a feeling that that's why people don't want to watch, because of the background noise. Okay. So I just want to say expression for me really has a lot to do with being able to express emotions that in society are naturally, I wouldn't say naturally, but there is an agreement that they should not be. So anger, sadness, grief, and I don't know if it's, I haven't studied enough cultures to know if it's outside of this culture. I assert that it is, but it just has a different flavor. And what I notice in this culture, in this society, especially with men, and this is why I work with men too, right, is men, not having the freedom or the access to be able to express sadness, anger, grief, having to be the men that are the rock for the women, and being shamed even in their own humanity, and being shamed by themselves and being shamed by not just women, but other men too. So it's like it's coming from every angle. And what I find is that, I hugely value just being able to have people around me express, and for me to express when things are really real for me in my humanity. Like today, I'm really sad. I stayed up till 4 a.m. crying. And my brother's really depressed, and that just impacts me, right? I get so impacted. And I have 4 brothers. My oldest brother, he has had depression from a really young age, and it doesn't matter what work I do, I still come back to that it's his journey and there's nothing really for me to fix, and just allow him to express his grief and his sadness. I take you off mute. I feel weird having you on mute. I'm talking at you. But ultimately, I just allow myself to be sad today, and I just allow myself to experience heaviness, not trying to be positive. I actually think that is more suppression, is being like, be positive, you only live once, YOLO. You're like this crazy attitude that just like keeps shoving things down.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
challenging. It's a challenging place to be in because you know, it can really spiral in such a negative way if we're unaware of the fact that we're in a spiral. So, like if we're in, yeah, yeah,
yeah. I think the spiral comes from the access point. You know, if no one has an access to being able to interrupt, not even interrupt, but when I say express, I mean really feel it intentionally.
yeah,
Everything that I do has an intention. And
yeah,
you know, even today, I'm going to allow myself to be sad, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to cancel my lives with Alan. You know, and it doesn't
yeah,
mean that I'm going to not go out for work, and it doesn't mean, you know, but I do extra things to allow myself to just be human. So I slept in,
yeah,
you know, and I'm eating a lot of veggies today and drinking a lot of water. So I'm just taking care of me. Um,
yeah, yeah.
ultimately, I know what you're saying though. It's like, let's allow people to express, but let them know that it needs to come from intention,
Yeah, 100%. Like
self
the intention,
accountability.
the intention's so important. For such a long time, I was just kind of like taking day by day, and kind of, kind of like having this idea in my mind of what I wanted, and
Yeah.
then kind of like hoping that it would just happen, which was a very crippling place to be because,
Yeah.
you know, and law of attraction without action is basically pointless. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's great. You know, don't get me wrong. I think that it's fantastic for helping the mind, you know, really create that belief and affirm it to yourself. However, if there's no follow up or there's no plan put in place, you know, yeah, I think that that's a very interesting reality to be in. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I work with community leadership.
yeah,
Because you know we hold each other. It's not like hold each other accountable, like you said you would do this, but it's like we have this like foundation of support
yeah.
that if any of us are sad, that we just like listen to each other. It's really that
Mhm.
simple. It's like we just check in with each other, listen to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't step over things if we hear that someone's out of integrity with what they're doing. Yeah.
Listening is so important. Like listening for me, in my reality, like heavily ties into empathy
Mm,
and compassion. Truly being able to like hear from a neutral place what someone may be suggesting or what they might be experiencing. You know, because for me, it's like I can never know exactly what someone's going through because how we filter reality is different. So like I can only kind of grasp to what my understanding is of reality and whatever they're going
mm,
through my perception, and that's where like I feel like there's such a disconnect in the world sometimes where you know the I'm right mentality because again I'm speaking directly from experience. So I think that there's a lot in that, you know, like
yeah.
to let that go, and to come from an observer's place. So
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's perfect. Speaking of the observer,
yeah, 100%.
yeah, I constantly observe myself, you know, and I even in the midst of my anger and my sadness, I'm like, wow, you are intense right now, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, looking at myself, you know, from afar, being like, yeah, your human is like outrageous.
And that's awesome, you know, like I've my belief is that like my belief, something that I heard on another interview show, impact theory. I love impact theory. I love listening to other successful entrepreneurs and business owners. And one of the guys was talking about how what did he say? He said everything is actually neutral until we decide to put a story on it. And it was quite profound for me in that moment because I'm like, yeah, that's legit. like like
Yeah,
the only reason why I'm getting angry at this thing or frustrated at this thing is because like there's a story running in the background that it should have been this way, or
yeah.
I'm not good enough, or you know you should have known better. And you know
Mhm.
a lot of my journey's been about that, is being too hard on myself, and you know it's really about giving myself space to appreciate, and then what appreciates continues to appreciate, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely, yeah. I have a similar. I mean, you're like resistant to call it a belief. I think it's actually a tool. A
Yeah,
tool. Yeah, a thought tool, I guess you would say, a thought or a conversation tool. But we do when you really think about it, and this is kind of this might trigger people saying this, but nothing actually has any meaning until we put meaning to it,
yeah,
and including ourselves, you know. Um, and that's the story that you would be touching on. We're creating stories about everything, and it means this and it means that. And actually, when we remove the meaning, is when we get to really like experience freedom
yeah,
inside of those circumstances. So
yeah,
I think
100%.
that's beautiful. Where did this start for you? Where did this
When?
journey start? Yeah. So what was like the pivotal turning point for you where you were like, this is what my life's going to be about?
Yeah, so I had my first kind of like aha moment when I was 18. I was in a position where I was kind of working jobs that I really didn't like, and that was really challenging. However, it wasn't bad enough for me yet to actually like take on seriously what I actually wanted to do, which was personal training at the time.
Mm,
And I'd never employed a personal trainer, so I was like, why the hell do I want to like become a personal trainer? But like, it was more so what I saw in my imagination. Like, I didn't realize at the time, but I saw like personal trainer as like this confident, assertive, dominant guy that was also authentic, charismatic, and certain in his life. Um, and I was kind of like visioning this figure, not to realize that that was actually me. You know, in a growth version, you know, or like a higher version of myself. And
mm,
so I initially turned that down. So like I had that thought or that inspiration to become a personal trainer, and you know, seeing all of that, seeing it in my imagination, didn't realize at the time that was just like my higher version or like my future version of myself. And the thing that had me continue to stay asleep to my own life was the belief that I can't do that. Like I just that's not possible for me. I can't fill those shoes. Like, what are you talking about? And all these negative stories just came into my head. And I remember my partner at the time. I remember so vividly saying it to her. And first thing she said was like, yeah, 100%, I can see you doing that. So a lot of my journey has been like me simply believing that I can do it.
mm,
And you know, I've never had an issue. When I say never, I mean like I've rarely had an issue with people outside of me supporting and believing me to achieve something that I want to achieve. It's
mm.
more so been the battle in my own mind to have myself believe it and to then take the actions to do it. So
I think we just reached twin status.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
Too many commonalities going on. Yeah, I totally
Yeah,
relate. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah. And yeah, and like, you know, not ruling out the fact that I've had naysayers in my life that have also gone the other way and said like, no, you know, you're not going to be good at that or whatever.
Mm,
So that was 18. You know, I turned that offer down and just stayed asleep to the dream that I could have lived. And then I had another moment like that when I was 24.
mm,
And it's quite a profound experience. I used to race dirt bikes. So in South Australia, I used to race the SA Off-Road Championship, which is an enduro series. So basically racing through the forest and over logs and over rocks and all this sort of stuff. Um, Long story short, like I was the guy, you know. When I say I was the guy, like all my friends at the time knew that I would always be riding during the week, on the weekends, and whenever basically. So I was right into it, loved my bikes and everything like that.
mm.
There was one specific weekend. It was a national event. It was a 2 day event, and long story short, strangely enough, I lost the buzz. And I've never experienced that before, where like I was in
Sorry.
the in the middle of a race. I kind of just like had this moment where like, you know, when you're in race mode, when you're racing a dirt bike, like it's very like focused. You know, you got to think about the next corner. You got to like, you know, really like be in sync with the bike and everything like that. And I just had this moment where like I kind of just like snapped out of it, and I was just like, I need to work on my career. And I kind of just like wheeled the bike back into the pit, and then just went home. And then just started selling everything from the dirt bike. It's a very, very, you know, shortened version of that story. But like also at the same time, the job that I was working as a beekeeper, I'm not sure if anyone that is watching this is like,
things.
yeah.
So polar opposite, you know. I'm like, what? You're a bee? What? Anyway,
if anyone's been a beekeeper before, they know that you get stung like basically every day. And
I'd be a no.
Like I was about 6-7 months into being a beekeeper, and I've shared this story a few times on my social media. It's 5 a.m. It's raining. It's dark. It's cold. I didn't want to be there because I was at that point where like enough was enough, and it's like I'm so sick of this job. But you know, I was still supporting a dirt bike career that wasn't really going anywhere. And my boss tells me to jump up on the truck, so I jump up and put my hand up and feel a squish. I come back down, and I've just been stung on the hand about 5 times at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning. It's cold, it's dark, it's raining. I didn't want to be there. And I remember looking at my hand, looking at the car, looking at my car, looking at the driveway, and just like being like, what the F am I doing with my life? And again, guess what came up? The first thing that came up was like, Alan, you should become a personal trainer. And that was the moment for me. I was like, you know what? I'm sick of like this small talk that's going on in my head. I'm going to do it. And I just got chills from expressing that. And I went home at the end of that, because I went home at the end of that week and researched, you know, certifications and everything like that, and got the ball rolling. And from there, it was just, I've just been on a consistent journey. Like I thought PT was endgame. I thought PT was like, you know, if you met me then, it's like how I would talk about PT was like, wow, like this guy is like wanting to really take this thing to another level. But the core driver of that is purely wanting to help people, you know, like to be in service and to help people like get stronger and lose weight and like create a healthier relationship with their bodies and all that sort of stuff. Like there's just no one answer for like the decisions that we make, you know, and I guess that comes through decisions of what we choose to associate with that story. So yeah, that's a bit of a brief. Yeah, I'm trying to like keep it relatively brief because it can just drag on.
I love that you're sharing yourself. You know, that's what this is all about. This is like what matters to you. You know, I come on the show every week, so it's like what matters to Alan moment, you know, and what's at the core of what Alan has, you know, what makes you you, and why is it that you're doing what you're doing, and that's why this show exists, is because you're an extraordinary human being, you know, and I can already hear the amount of moments in your life that you've been questioned yourself, and then there's been these moments where you're like, no, I'm done with that, and it's like you just pivot. And I love that word pivot. Everyone uses it in coaching. You know, if it doesn't work, pivot. But it's like, you really did. You pivoted your thoughts. You were like, okay, no, I can do this. I do believe in myself. And, you know, my most recent moment that I can think of, that I had to do a 4-day hike last year for a charity fundraiser. And it was a week after I did a 60-kilometer hike. And I was so exhausted, you know. I started this hike day 1, and it was like Tough Mudder. And I was like, oh, my God, this is going to kill me. And I noticed that thought. I noticed the thought of, like, this already doubt, and I hadn't even started yet. And I noticed it, and I went, nah, I am not going to get through this weekend if I do not, like, train myself hardcore. And so I would not allow myself to think that I would not achieve it. And I would not allow myself to think that I wouldn't go over the finish line after the 4 days. And the moment that I walked, like 4 days went by, it was grueling, it was intense. Like most days, the third day was like a 13K incline on Slat Rock Mountain, and it was insane. And I just remember my whole body being on fire. but thinking, wow, I'm so grateful for my body and what it can do. And there was no thoughts whatsoever that I couldn't achieve it, even in the hardest moments, because I would not allow myself to go there. And then right at the end, I walked across the finish line and I just sobbed with gratitude. I can't even, like, even now, like, we're talking about goosebumps. I have goosebumps because, like, I just remember, the power of the mind, the power of not allowing myself to entertain thoughts that I couldn't do something.
100%.
And that's what I'm hearing you've been doing as well, your whole journey.
100%. Very powerful. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because sometimes we can almost presuppose the outcome when the outcome hasn't really come to us yet. Like it's a present moment reality. So it's to suggest that something may happen in the future is completely, in my perception, killing my own self-esteem, in the sense that I'm not able to experience that potential of what I could achieve. So the fact that you experience gratitude at the end of that, to just assure and reconfirm that, you can actually do this, and you did do it. And you create a new baseline for what's possible in your life. And I think that's so powerful. So
absolutely. And I know that a lot of people do this in relationship too, because I did it for a long time. I always thought to myself, I'm never going to find the one. I'm never going to find the person that really just is my soul person, And then I started entertaining the thought that there wasn't just one, that there was many, and that I started to actually just think about who I wanted to be for myself first. And in the last year I've been working on, I am my soul person, and anybody that I meet becomes a soul friend. This is new thoughts, soul friends, and then one day a romance starts, so it's this beautiful way of being able to come at it, instead of this sadness of it, I don't have it right now, so and I hear that a lot, especially from women. Oh, it's never going to happen. They've already supposed the future. No one knows what's going to happen, but having that thought already in place, it's you're probably already missing what's right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they might have purely missed an opportunity that was right in front of them, because they've already told themselves the story that I'm not going to meet the one. It's never going to happen for me. I get it. However, I feel like the more we're able to understand about ourselves, in relation to maybe some resistance that we're feeling towards that very topic, and why. When we dive deeper, sometimes it's more about the trust issues, or it's about the levels of respect that weren't present in the previous relationship, or X, Y, and Z. And it's that may or may not be still hidden deep in the unconscious, and isn't it worth understanding the beliefs that are associated with that, to therefore clear that out of the way, so that when you're calling in the new partner, that that you can get on the train at a new stop. I think that for me, that's where I am proud of myself, in that sense that previously in the past, I've always taken away amazing learnings and growth from the relationships that I've been in, and friends that I was surrounding myself at the time with, they would be getting in and out of relationships left, right, and center. I'm I get the surface level attraction and the initial connection. However, what's actually deeper than that? It's intimacy and the ability to truly open one's heart through vulnerability. So it's what's it gonna take to get to that? And that is that's work. That's a good amount of work, though, because it benefits in relation to fulfillment, satisfaction, joy, happiness, and overall contentment of who we are. I believe, anyway. I'm just speaking with myself.
I agree with you. No, I do agree with you. And you said to me, we still have 20 minutes. This is great. You said to me there was nothing off limits here. So I really want to dive deeper into what you're saying, especially because I know that you're coming out of a relationship. Ladies, if you're watching, just give him a while, okay? Just give him a couple of months. No, but I really want to hear, what is, so what things did you discover that didn't work for you? And this is not to, to upset your ex or anything like that. This is really just a purely looking as an observer in your
Yeah.
relationships. So what are the
Yeah.
things that come up for you?
Yeah. So, and full disclosure, relationships are a mirror, 100%, and we're in relation to ourselves. And the interesting thing is, we always attract in the people that are helping us heal a part of ourselves that we may have not seen before. Really letting everybody know that's how I really like to see relation. And a lot of the things that I found for me that weren't necessarily working for me was space. I wasn't giving myself the space to breathe, to think, to really do things for myself, to really experience that joy on a level that was what I felt to be true for myself. A lot of resentment came up and a lot of anger came up. And the reason why they came up, and still partly deconstructing some of this stuff, is my perceived inability to honor myself in any moment in speaking my truth. That's a very tough pill to swallow, because like in any moment, or in some moments of our relationship, I wasn't able to feel as though I could honor myself enough, or 100%, to therefore express truthfully exactly what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Period. Not like,
Yeah.
kind of what I'm trying to say, like exactly. And the fear that came up was the thought of hurting someone else.
Mm.
But what's worse? Is it worse to hurt somebody else, or is it worse to suppress my own truth?
Mm.
And what I chose to do was suppress my own truth again and again and again and again. And for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I was starting to feel pretty empty and numb inside. So,
Yeah, it's no wonder,
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I can relate to that fully. Yeah.
yeah, and like I believe that even being in a position now where I'm giving myself like that space to be able to really absorb and truly extract the learnings that I felt as though I wasn't seeing at the time. A huge part of that is just being able to give myself as much space as humanly possible in order to truly move the needle of my life in all areas, if that makes sense, not
Mm.
just in one area. And I think that's where people can get a bit lost sometimes, and I'm not special. I'm just like everybody else here, like everyone's human, everyone's doing the best they can currently, but sometimes we need to, outreach and put our hand up, because we can't always figure it out ourselves.
No,
So
it's true.
I think that support is a very, very big part of it. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we both do what we do. And why community is one of my massive foundations. Because I know that I'm very close to my family. So I have 4 brothers, a stepsister, very close to my biological and my stepdad, and my stepmom. And I experience really deep connection with the people that are in my family. And it's out of choice, really. It's like intentionally creating amazing relationship, because I know that I wouldn't be able to do and have the kind of conversations that I have about mental illness had it not have been for that supportive love. And it's probably also why I'm so happy to be single, because unless I find someone who is really in alignment with that and is able to provide that kind of support, um, it's okay with me that I have this other foundation, because they're not going anywhere. They'll always be that for me. So I think it's really important, if you're someone out there watching and you don't actually have a foundation of support, to, reach out to people that have the same values as you, have the same beliefs, have had the same similar experiences, so that you have this familiarity, this relatedness, and you feel like you belong somewhere. Because I actually do think that that's one of the most important parts of our humanity and being able to express ourselves, is knowing that someone has our back.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
reach
that
out to
is.
Alan or I too. Yeah.
Hey.
I was going to say, or reach out to Alan and I. We're always here to create community and
Yeah,
connection.
of course. Yeah, hit the nail on the head. Like I think like as long as there's a similarity, like you said, you know, in values or worldview or like overall perspectives to a degree, I think there's always going to be areas to work on. Like any relationship that doesn't have you know, disagreement or argument to a degree, like I feel as though there might be some suppression or lack of
Taking it.
expression of truth, you know, in that. That's okay. That's also a learning. You know, we can learn from that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you said, we've got conscious choice. So we can choose to lean into the growth aspect of, you know, why does this keep showing up in my relationship? And why do I keep getting triggered by the way my partner does this thing? Or, you know, like these are all really deep unconscious learnings that we can extract and understand how we can overcome to therefore create a richer connection and a richer sense of love and experience and essence of our relationships. So
yeah, definitely. So that's what you're creating in your relationships.
yeah, it's a relationship with the self, and you know, ultimately how I feel. Basically, what we're talking about with expression before. You know, like for me, I, for whatever reason, for a multitude of reasons, wasn't able to honor myself within a relationship, but I was able to in other areas of my life. Now that doesn't make any sense, but that's funny how the mind can sometimes categorize our situations and experiences. It's no different to someone that, you know, has a really deep conversation with their best friend, and then when they go and get coffee with their mum, they're just talking about surface level things. The mind has a funny way of categorizing our experiences in a different way, and that's also learning. It's like we can learn from that and understand like what we might be holding back from. Oh, that one time that my mum said this in a certain way, I was really hurt by it, XYZ. And it's like the only person that's staying hurt is the person that is experiencing hurt or limiting themselves to the truth that they're expressing, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I can, you know, like I've had some really shitty situations in the last couple of years that I could say, like easily would have taken me out of the dating game completely for the rest of my life. I'd be a 50-year-old woman with 10 cats living in a shed in the middle of nowhere. I'd happily, you know. I've been in these circumstances that are like, you know, I have this awareness that I know that deep down I had put myself into a circumstance like that because, you know, I attract wanting to nurture people, wanting to take care of people. It's kind of like at the risk of my own health and my own well-being and who I am for myself, like you were saying, compromising your own values and suppressing what really matters to you out of fear of hurting someone else. And I got into a relationship with a guy who was really not well, you know, and was a drug dealer. And I didn't know any of that was happening. But really, like, if I looked at it internally, I knew. Like, I knew something shifty was going on, and I just wanted to help. And the only way I knew to help was to just pour love and give as much of my attention as I possibly could, and pretty much neglect myself in the making. And like, it's no surprise looking back that relationship ended so badly, so badly. And it was almost like I set it up, you know. It's like this is what I call self-sabotage. Is that unconsciously we know it's really not working for us. And it's really not something that we want. And so it's like our environment starts to create what our unconscious really actually wants to do or say. And then it like hits us like a freight train, you know. Yeah. But again, like you, I'm someone who takes every situation, even in the moment, right? He was dating another girl. I didn't know about her. And she found nude photos of me on his phone. That's what you do in a relationship, right? You send each other sexy photos. So I'd sent sexy photos. She had got a hold of them, screenshotted them, and I was the manager at a hotel. She sent them to all my colleagues. And even in the middle of sitting in a meeting with HR about these photos, I was reflecting on, you know, my behavior. I was reflecting on how I put myself there, you know, how I ended up there. What is the learning from this? not to invalidate, his behavior at all or her behavior, not to invalidate it at all. It's crap. It was a really shit situation. But really, for some power for me and some self-responsibility, I had to go fucking deeper than I ever had with myself to be like, okay, enough is enough. Like, you can't help everybody and you keep trying to, and this is what happens.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, as challenging as that situation may have been at the time, at the same time, it's a beautiful dynamic in the sense that, like, from what I'm hearing, without assuming and presupposing, he was really, from what it sounds like, potentially challenged with like receiving love within himself. Potentially. This is just a hypothetical.
No, you're right.
I can see the beautiful dynamic in that, how like you were just like completely pouring it into him, but then I guess at the same time, like a drawback from that, like you mentioned, you sort of start to forget about yourself a little bit and stuff like that. So there's just so many learnings in it, and I guess I got a similar situation where a lot of my life has been trying to operate off of 10% battery all the time, and when I was talking about space, like that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like I just hadn't really given myself that time to just breathe, or just to soak up the sun, or just be in nature, or like just to really stop and smell the roses, as the quote suggests. And it's like, well, why? I've got so many things to do, but it's like, no, like I'm missing the point. Like the essence of life versus like quantity over quality, right? So like that, I believe, has been a game changer for me, in the sense that like I'm never going to be able to create what I want if I'm running off a 10% battery. So how do I charge my battery? I do things that mean to me, so
yeah I'm the same. Again, we're twins. We must be twins. I come on these lives and I just find so many things I have in common with everybody that I'm like, oh, do we have the same parents? Like we're just like I really get it. And this is like something I discovered deeply about my people pleaser in the last year. And those that are like, people pleaser, it's usually considered quite negative to be someone who just wants to please others. And it really is just about the people around me being good with me, not just being good, So when I started to look at that part of my identity and how I'd constructed it based on survival, I noticed that my whole life I have, run on 10%, have given all that I can give. And then the moment that I feel like I'd run out, I start to resent them. I start to resent the people around me that I love. And I'm like, how dare you take so much from me, and that's all going on in the background. So as of recently, like in the last 6 months, I've really gone to work on, not even where it comes from, but like what it actually looks like in my life, how it's holding me back, but also that it's a superpower, because I know that my people pleaser identity has had me connect with anybody. I can connect with every single person possible on the planet. In a way, I can find anything in anybody that I can relate to. And I like deeply connect to the humanity of people. And it's like, that is my superpower inside of that identity. And so I stopped really like looking at it as if it was something that was holding me back, but rather, and I know this in relationships now, I have boundaries. Boundaries are very strict for me. I will honor what I want first and foremost, second and third, and then I will consider you fourth. And and I stopped thinking of that as selfish, but rather I can't give you what I want to give you unless I honor myself first. And so I love that you even were saying before, you come back to the essence of life. I love that word. It's so juicy. The essence, what is the quality of your life versus the quantity? What are the things that you really want to experience? And how are you able to give your full self, even if it's for 5 minutes, even if it's for an hour? I knew that I would not be able to give you my full capacity if I had not have given myself a couple of hours sleep. Whereas I was like, I have to get up and work and I have to do this and I have to post and and I was like, no, that would be a fucking rip off to Alan, you know, and anybody else that wants to come on and watch this live, because I would just be like not present. So getting back to the essence, I love that.
Yeah. So
yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
The essence
Really cool.
is the quality, you know? Quality is integrity, and integrity, I believe, is heavily associated with what we believe to be true. Because, you know, what I believe to be true may or may not be what you believe to be true. I believe that it's the alignment that's intertwined as the through line for what we both see as reality, and creating a common relation between that.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. I just came up with that sentence.
I love it. That's beautiful. You just like write it down, like.
Oh no!
I really did. I picked that, and I just thought, yeah, because we all have our own view, and at what point there is a point in everybody's view that you meet halfway, or not even halfway, but there's an intertwinement, you know, like you were saying, and it's in that really like alignment happens. Yeah.
Exactly right. Like that's my belief. Not everyone has that belief, you know. Some people believe that they meet someone else halfway, but what is meeting someone halfway? That's meeting someone at 50%. Why would you want to meet someone at 50%? Why would you not want to meet them at 100% and have two people like coming from wholeness? Like, but you know, I'm just expressing different views and different perceptions, and you know, we can choose. We've always got conscious choice. You can always change and pivot, as you said. You know, change the trajectory, how we're seeing life, and it's a big topic.
It is a big topic. I mean, like we I pretty much want to wrap up. We've been talking for an hour, and I just so appreciate everything that we've discussed. I mean, like I feel like I've just gone on a roller coaster. And my mind is like, you know, I'm like thinking of all these things. Ultimately, like I really want to give you the opportunity to share what you're up to in the comments, and you know what you're providing for men at the moment. And we've kind of like heard from you for the last hour who you are and your experiences of life, and I can hear inside of your experiences and the moments that were really hard for you that you really like did pivot your life into being of service. And I think that again is just so beautiful. And I think that if anybody is out there and is like, you know, I really want my life to be about that, and I really want my life to reflect my true intention, then Alan is probably the best person to talk to, especially as a man as well. And that's the thing too, being a woman that coaches men. Men, I know in this society, there is an agreement that men relate to men more because of sex, you know, or you have a penis, I don't. And and I think that there's this a new thing happening in the world where women have come into power and masculinity, and so now there's like an opportunity for women to teach men how to be in their feminine more, and to really engage with that energy of being able to be nurturing, and have it all work together. And so I just really see that, and my housemate Jess uses this term a lot, harmonious collaboration. And that is exactly how I would summarize this experience with you. I really do feel like we've collaborated together in a really beautiful way. And I just really appreciate you and all the work that you do for men. And I think it's so, so important. Like I actually want to cry. It's so important.
Got space to. You're welcome to if you need to.
Yeah, I've been crying all day. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I do. I just honor you, and I really acknowledge you for being the person that you are on this planet, and for jumping on the core of what matters with me.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been awesome. That hour's gone really fast, and like I say, you know, yeah, I feel like there's a bit of twin DNA going on there, you know. But you know, I appreciate the you know, the opportunity to, you know, have this conversation. And like I think it comes back to like how the individual that may be challenged with something, who they view as the person that can truly help and support them to get where they want to get to. So if there is anybody watching this that is connecting with either one of us and what we're saying, I think that it's just a phone call away, So
yeah, absolutely. Slide into our DMs.
That's it.
I just want to acknowledge everyone that's going to replay or did watch. I got the ticking probably got in the way for some people, but it's okay. Fine. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm just going to say, have a great day, everybody. And thank you for joining us at the Core of What Matters. Okay.